Geared Up North, your compass in the wilderness. We're passionate outdoorsmen turned gear gurus on a mission to equip you with tools, insights, and camaraderie to conquer the great outdoors. From North America's hunting fields and icy waterways, join us for gear reviews, tips, and lessons learned. Welcome to Geared Up North.
Oh! Martin here with Geared Up North. We're doing the final installment of the RUT Stationcation here. We're joined by my co-host, Jared, and then Justin from Wildline Ropes. Justin, if you want to just kind of give everybody a quick introduction, like how you got into hunting as a kid, or even just some like kind of where you've joined or how you've gotten this far in your journey into the hunting industry.
All right, yeah, so this marks my 10th year being basically solely public land hunter. I got a little land I hunt, but 10, 15 acres, it's not a whole lot. So most of my hunting is in the big woods. And I was like 23, 24 when I got into hunting. So, my dad, he showed me like how to gut and skin deer, but unfortunately he passed away when I was like 17. So I never really got to enjoy the hunting experience with him. And my brother-in-law, actually I went with my friend a long time ago, and I found out that it's something you kind of need gear for. I froze to death, and I told him, I was like, look, I can't do this. But then years later, I went with my brother-in-law and shot my first deer on public land. We was in a hunting club, but it bordered public, so we would just go down to the public and hunt that, and that's where I shot my first deer. So I always, enjoy hunting. That's just different types of public in general. And as far as the business goes, if you want me to tell you how I kind of got into rope, I started working with rope probably when I was like 17 or 18. I made a bunch of paracord products, rifle slings, bracelets, all that kind of stuff. And then dropped out of that for a while and did mostly construction work. Building houses.
I don't
enjoyed that for a long time.
I just see stop.
And then got back into the rope business probably about 5 or 6 years ago.
Though. That's pretty good.
Probably about 5 years ago.
Yeah, so you know where
and started Wildline Ropes. So
Martin here with Geared Up North, doing the final installment of the RUT Rutcation Station, joined by Jared, who you've heard and listened to before, and then we also have a special guest, Justin from Wildline Ropes. Justin, if you don't mind taking a few minutes, kind of introduce yourself and kind of get people up to speed on who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so Justin at Wildline Ropes. I make mostly rope products for the hunting industry. Got into making rope products around 18 years of age. Did that for quite some time, and then got out of it, worked construction for a while, then got back into rope when I got into saddle hunting about 5 or 6 years ago. And this will be my 10th year hunting mostly public land. So that's kind of a quick wrap up of it.
I'm curious, Justin, how did you first discover saddle hunting? Yeah, what kind of drove you to that?
So mainly the lightweight aspect of it. So I live in Northeast Alabama, and we have a fair amount of hills and mountains where I'm at. So, it ain't nothing for me to go 1,000 or more foot in elevation anytime I hunt. So for me, it was that aspect. To be honest, I walked around with a summit climber on my back, and you can only walk so many miles and not see any sign before you just have to pick a spot. Sometimes it works, most of the time it don't. But, it was really just that, trying to get rid of that extra weight of the summit. Like, they're super comfortable and they're great if you got a good spot. but if you're going out into an unknown area, it's not an ideal choice.
Absolutely. My story, not quite as aggressive. Pretty much Martin tricked me into it. How did you guys meet? So I selfishly, we'll get to this later in the podcast, but I heard of Wildline Ropes and your name through Martin through his mobile hunting, helping with the Mobile Hunters Expo. Is that how you guys met?
Yeah. So what was it last year in Michigan?
Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause Michigan, and you guys didn't make the Pennsylvania show just because it was a little bit of a drive. But
Yeah.
I think Justin, I don't know if you needed help setting up something or whatever it ended up being, but pretty much right away we just talked about what Justin had for products and what was cool and what was interesting. And because that was the year, that's when you came out with that trucker hitch style attachment for sticks and platforms, correct?
So it'd be like the Wildline rope mods that it's kind of like a trucker's hitch, but it uses the button,
Yep.
the additional button, and that way you don't have to do a bunch of extra stuff. It's a fairly quick attachment. So, yeah, I really enjoy using those instead of like daisy chains. Man, I've actually stopped selling daisy chains. I don't sell them no more because they're just kind of subpar when there's, I mean, you can use a rope mod and get a tighter, get a stick tighter to a tree just using a standard rope mod. So, and they're very time consuming as well. So that's a huge aspect of it. I mean, working in the rope industry, there's not a ton, there's no major profit margins. So cutting out your time is a huge deal.
I'm sure you've if you spent some amount of significant time with Martin, he likes to flip all of his hunting gear on a regular basis. In fact, we have an episode with a gentleman from Pennsylvania where that's all they do is talk about flipping gear. Shout out to Kirk. But your product and your brand is one that he's held on to. So I just want to get this out of the way as someone who is, watches what he does, gets to benefit off some of his used gear, help get me to where I'm at. You're one of the very few products and brands that he's held on to and swears by. So we should come up with some sort of award, Martin, in your name to give to people that you hang on to for more than a season, because Wildline Rope would definitely get one of those awards.
Beard tested, beard approved.
Yeah.
Whatever that's worth, we'll have to come up with something, and then we'll retroactively give you the award because you guys made the cut. But I just want to get that out of the way. That means something from this side of the line. Yeah.
See, I'm actually very similar to myself. Like, I've literally, maybe the last 1 or 2 years, I've actually held the same system. I'm constantly just trying new stuff. And to be honest, it's not really that great when you're constantly changing up because you're trying to relearn stuff, and it's hard to get in that, that groove, where you got it down pat. When you're constantly changing stuff, you're constantly changing, your setup. So it's a double-edged sword for sure, because you can find out things you really like that you used to hate it, but you have to take that extra time to learn it. So
absolutely, I agree 100%. That was that first thing Martin said was, practice, and then you show up to his house to hang out, and he's the guy hanging out of the tree in his front yard getting some reps, and all his neighbors are just pointing and looking at him. But you're absolutely right. If you're adding new stuff, you definitely want to be comfortable with it before you go out in the dark and try to put it to. Yep, look at that. He's got something new. Is that the Timber Ninja?
Yep, the kunai platform. That thing's pretty sweet.
So that's basically an extra large platform.
So 20 by 16 folds. I mean, stupid flat.
What's the
deal with the
construction of it?
It's billet aluminum. It's
Okay.
It's not. God, what's the two different ways with it? I'm pretty sure it's water jetted.
Yeah.
Because you can actually see that there's like channels cut out down the center.
Right.
But the teeth on it are stupid sharp. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Heck yeah.
yeah, I used it last weekend for the first time just to practice actually like hunting out of it. That's probably one of the most I'm pretty excited to try that out for the RUT this year just because it offers some packability without really having a lot of bulk. I mean, the weight, obviously it's not the lightest platform out there, but it's pretty much a hybrid hang on without the seat. And I know that they're working on a seat and it should be coming out in 2026. At least that's what I keep hearing, but I don't know, we'll see.
Right.
So does it work instead of like a regular platform where you toe seat something and then you have a screw to set the angle, you just have the kickstand on the bottom that adjusts
Pretty
the
much
pitch?
what it is you pop this off, you put whatever your attachment system is. So Justin's rope attachment would work, a cam strap would work. But once you get it to like, say for example, this is the tree. Once you get it to here, you seat it just past, you're gonna cut the channels in on the tree with these. Once you get it up, then you can adjust where this ends up being. So just for reference, you can then pick this out to whatever you need to be, and then you pop that in and set it down, and you're ready to go. And it's rock solid. I mean, there are a few things that I would suggest changing on it, but I'm not going to bring those up on here. I'm going to just speak with Timber Ninja or reach out to Timber Ninja directly. And it's nothing major. It's just 2 or 3 things that I just would suggest. It's just how I hunt, or that's like my style, you could say. But overall, I like it. I'd be really curious to see how their seat portion marries with that, because if you could figure out a seat system with that where you could kneel on it or even just turn it into a hang on and sit with your back against the tree, that's the best of both worlds. And if you could come up with a pack system that it literally fits in like a platform pouch, then you'd literally have the whole system in place so that it'd be super convenient for anybody and everybody to kind of like use it in whatever scenario.
You should do Justin a solid, and when you talk to Timber Ninja, get a SKU where they sell it with his ropes right away. There you go. People helping people.
You gotta be down.
For sure.
Nah, I like Timber Ninja, man.
Yeah, my first climbing sticks were TJs. They were awesome. They bit real hard. I was a big fan of those. Glad to see they're coming back too. What was Hurricane?
Yeah. That was an interesting scenario. They almost went out of business because of it.
Yeah.
Bet that happens a lot to businesses. That sounds crazy. And it would be not shock, Martin, that you use something and then have mods you want to make to
Always.
a product.
Always.
I don't know if I've ever had an item that I couldn't improve on.
That's true.
Constantly.
Yeah. What's an interesting conversation with? Do you get people like Martin calling and making suggestions? And even so, how do you take people who are serious, like good ideas versus bad ideas?
So generally, not a lot of like actual people who, have product like improvements. Typically, if there's an issue, like, every once in a while we might have like a slight issue, then I'll try to work that issue out. But
sure,
if people want custom gear, that's something we'll do. But right now is a bad time for that because, being during the busiest season, like nobody buys their hunting gear weeks before season. They always wait till like it opens. So it's super busy usually around this time of year. I've got a bunch of orders right now just sitting and chilling and waiting to get sent out because I'm actually waiting on rope. And that's something I've encountered this year a little bit more than other years in the past. And maybe it's the tariff stuff, but just having rope supply issues is kind of been a problem this year.
Yeah. That's crazy. The little things that you would never think of,
Yeah. We had thought we actually had our rope and it's been in and just set aside, stored for months, probably like 2 months. And then I go open it and realize they sent us the wrong type of rope. So it's just like complete, and all that rope is custom made to order. So now we're having to wait, an extra long time to get the rope. So it's we're trying, we try to find some other suppliers and stuff, but we also try to keep everything. We like to try to keep our rope, made in America. So I don't really want to import from, and then even if you import, you're waiting too. So
absolutely. Well, we respect and appreciate that. I think most would. Not sure what kind of rope it is, but I'm sure Martin's got all sorts of ideas. If you need burner rope, other ideas that wouldn't be your more of a pull behind concepts. We'll find something to do with your rope.
Yep.
Like putting our creative thinking hats on.
Tell you one thing I done. It was pretty neat. Have you ever seen the videos where guys take a winch or a truck, and they'll take a tire and wrap it to the base of a tree, and then put their winch rope over that tire, and pull that up? Well, me and my brother did that earlier this year, and we're actually trying to get into some more off-road ropes and recovery ropes, but he's got a Toyota Tundra with a winch on it, and he does, like landscaping type work, yard work, all that kind of stuff, handyman stuff. And they wanted this big bush moved, so we tried that, and the bush was so strong it was actually pulling his truck across the ground. So I took my rappel rope and I tied my rappel off to his truck, and then I tied it off to a tree, and that kept it from sliding, and was actually able to use the tire to pull the tree right out of the ground, just like you'd see on the video.
That's wild.
Yeah,
it's amazing what they can support.
It was nice to have that. I had that extra rappel on me for that, and I actually had another rope tied off to the rope that was the winch line, just in case it broke and tried to whip. That way nobody get hit by it or anything like that. So
I've watched some of those where they've ripped like full grown trees out of the ground.
Yeah, this was a big bush, but it was rooted in. Like I said, it was pulling that whole truck. I mean, a Toyota Tundra, that's not a little truck. It's a pretty fairly heavy truck. So it was just sliding across the ground, park and brake on, all that. And we had trees and blocks, to chalk the tires, but it's dragging it all. So
yeah, the tensile strength of the rope too, your rope specifically, but like even these climbing ropes, the amount of people I've even talked to that aren't already saddle hunting, mobile hunting, especially when you get down to like a 6mm rope,
right?
They look at it. The optics of it are very, if you're already trusting believing in this system, like they look at it, especially some of these big guys that are like, I could never hang from a tree like that. It's like, dude, I don't even know how you measure it. Is it, the poundage, the tensile strength, whatever that metric is, like some of these ropes are rated for an insane amount.
Right. So, for instance, like your AmSteel, which is probably your most like well-known rope, it's a Dyneema is the rope fiber, and that stuff, they call it AmSteel for a reason, is literally as strong as steel cable, the same diameter, but it's also light enough to float on water. And they originally made it for mooring and offshore work. So it's actually like winch rope, and that's why when you go to like, you'll see all your newer winches, a lot of them will have that synthetic rope, and that's all it is Dyneema. Generally, the best stuff, AmSteel, there is 100% a quality difference between AmSteel and other types, because I've used even other American-made, Dyneema ropes, and they just don't compare when it comes to AmSteel as far as their construction goes. So I try to use it for for some of my better products, like the Featherlight Tether. I tried using a different rope. I made a few and sold them, and I was just like, well, I'm just not happy with it. So if I'm not happy with it, then I assume my customer will not be. So I remedied that, basically immediately. And
I did not know that. That's I can go to bed happy now that I learned something new today. That's an actual brand, not just like a industry wide.
So AmSteel is owned by Samson Rope, and Samson Rope is American-made manufacturer. And if I remember correctly, they actually invented the Dyneema strand. It's the fiber itself is SK78, I believe, There's also SK99, which is stronger than AmSteel, but it's not as widely produced, so it's a lot more expensive and just not.
Sure.
It's just not, not worth trying to buy because it's just too expensive.
And probably even overkill if you're just hanging a human. But if some of
Yeah,
those,
well, I mean, when your life's on the line, in my opinion, there's no such thing as overkill when it's your life, that's hanging there. But uh, also, you got Kevlar and aramid fibers, which is very similar to AmSteel in the strength ratio. They're very similar strength wise, but AmSteel is far lighter, whereas the Kevlar is heat resistant, right? Kevlar, they use it in all kinds of firemen, firefighters, and stuff like that have Kevlar lined, stuff. It's also the bulletproof material. And if I remember correctly, the military is actually going over to it's UHMPE, ultra high weight molecular polyethylene. That is what AmSteel is. Uh, that is like the scientific name of the fiber. And if I remember correctly, they're actually trying to make bulletproof helmets out of that because it's like 25 to 50% lighter than the Kevlar. So
that's insane. That is insane.
it is. It's a great stuff. I mean, it has its limitation because AmSteel or Dyneema is not very heat resistant, right? And that's actually a big factor. I don't make any friction hitch for like a tether out of AmSteel because of that reason. Because if you were to fall and you had slack in your line, any knot under tension creates heat.
Right.
So when you have something like Kevlar, it's like not, you're not melting your fiber because it basically can't melt. It just chars black, and it has to reach like 500 to 800 degrees to do that. So that's why all my hitches I try to keep either Technora, Kevlar, or aramid fiber, which is all basically the same stuff. It's just different companies have their own. It's literally like molecules different. So
that's
same stuff. Basically.
Yeah. Yeah, the little things the average person doesn't like, you just buy it because, well, that company sold it and you don't realize what goes into it.
Yeah. So what's really nice too is there's actually a major difference. And I thought I would plan on doing some videos on just how cut resistant the Dyneema or abrasive resistant, really the Dyneema and the Kevlar is compared to a standard like nylon or polyester rope. So I can take a 11 millimeter, 11.4 millimeter Predator rope, which, a lot of people know about it. It was kind of big back when I first got into hunting. It's a great rope, but made out of those materials, you can take a pair of scissors and you can just cut it. Mm-hmm. Now you take that 6 millimeter, like my Obsidian rope that we have custom made for us. You take scissors to that and it's just it just frays. Yeah, there you go. So you take scissors, you can get it to cut with scissors, but you have to tape it really tight, and then you got to have a good technique. I use a really sharp knife, and I constantly have to keep it sharp because it just will not cut it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can I don't know, if you haven't held this type of material, it's just different.
Yeah,
I don't know how to describe it.
And it's also, so we had that made with a nylon and Technora sheath on it. So the nylon gives it that roughness, and that roughness, that texture you feel helps engage that friction hitch, and that way there's no slippage or anything like that. Whereas I've tried with like polyester ropes, because polyester is way cheaper. Believe me, it's way cheaper, but it's a lot slicker. And the same thing with polypropylene, which is it's like a really cheap. I wouldn't use it for anything. You might find it on some like Chinese ropes,
Yeah. No, that's good to know. I don't even know, like I said, I don't know how to describe it. It's different, even comparing it to my other ropes that I had before this, and then even getting to use Martin's a little bit when we did some of the other videos. I was trying to cut weight and size. I started with the 11 millimeter rope myself, but even the materials and the texture of that rope, and I don't need it to be this flimsy, massive thing, especially when this is arguably stronger, lighter, more compact.
Right.
Plus a handful of other benefits as well.
And
As
I
I
will
mentioned,
say this. So one thing to consider when you have a larger rope, you have more surface area for the rope to take damage, whereas a smaller rope has less surface area, so it's going to take a little more damage. I'd recommend, if you're using smaller ropes, I generally recommend about 3 seasons out of one item and then change out after that third season. But it really depends on, how you hunt, because some guys who are, your weekend warriors, they're getting out there on the weekend. They got jobs through the week. They can get out there a little bit. And they might make theirs last a little bit longer than someone who's going out and hunting 3, 4, 5 times a week. It's just something to consider when you're buying your stuff.
So clearly, pretty good.
I agree with Jared's point on the whole rope concept thing with the newer stuff you're coming out with. There's a definite difference in just like the functionality and feel, and even too is like the Lineman's belt, just the way that it grips on the tree better. Like to Jared's point, when I started out, I used those 11 millimeters from, I think it was Tethered had them. Not that those were horrible ropes and they're great for people to just start with, but it's just sometimes if the tree's a little slick, that Lineman's belt tends to slide a little more.
Yeah, and that would probably be the polyester sheath. It's just it's like I said, it's a little bit slicker. So anything that has that extra grip, like the nylon has, I like the nylon. So the con about nylon though is you'll actually have sheath stretch. So let's say you got a rappel rope, you just open up a brand new rope from a manufacturer. You should milk your rope, and milking your rope is a term of like, what I like to do is I'll take a piece of paracord, I'll wrap it around the rope at the top of where say if there's a sewn eye in it, that would be the top. And then I would wrap that paracord around it 5 or 6 times, and I'd pull it like a friction hitch, and that makes that sheath compress and stretch to the core of your rope. And the reason that is important is if you don't do that, what can happen is sheath stretch over time, and then what will happen is your sheath will bunch up under your hitch. Your hitch is too tight and your sheath is too bunched up, and you're going to have, problems. Now, if you've got like a Ropeman 1 or, like a Ropeman, a mechanical, you won't, it probably won't affect it too much, but a friction hitch, it absolutely will. So just a little tip there.
I like that. And I'm glad you defined what milking the rope was, because that could have gone a couple different ways.
Yeah, you can milk a rope, but you can't milk a bull. That's what I always say. You can milk a rope.
Speaking of Wisconsin, I was like, "Ooh, we're getting into milking. Here we go."
Yeah, we can skip on that. Speaking of tips, let's kind of jump into the meat and potatoes of this episode. Yep. So we've got 7 different topics to go over. These are kind of rut-based things. These aren't really like hunting tactics. It's more of getting ready for the hunt, running into any sort of issues you have. So other things like that. We've got 7 cards. I'm just going to draw them at random, and then I'm just going to read whatever the topic is. So I'll read what the topic is, and then we'll pick between the 3 of us who goes first. But don't, like, if you guys have a question for anybody else that's a part of this, feel free to just raise your hand or bring the question up, because this is more of a group discussion to kind of get people better ready for the rut if they're doing any sort of out-of-state hunts or a long trip up north where it's 4+ hours and you don't want to drive an hour round trip to Walmart to pick something up.
Sounds good.
All right. Number 1, ready, set, pack. Your go-to checklist for pre-rut preparations and essential packing to keep your rutcation stress-free. Jared, you're first up.
Well, my checklist is named Martin. Just kidding.
No, you're not.
Martin, what are you packing? I'll pack the same thing. I cheat a little bit. I don't know if this is cheating. I do this with my regular job when I go out and do filming. I try to keep a certain percentage past the threshold, always packed, always ready to go, no matter what hunting. So like if it's gun or bow, like if you cross the threshold with temperature, I don't leave the lighter stuff in. I already put the heavier stuff in there, so it's there. It's in one spot. It's ready to go. Everything's gets put back the way I find it. So the macro point I'm trying to make with this is, if I put things back and do a good job when I used them last, and tackle it when I get home right away, that way I know everything's in its bin, ready to go. So I don't need as much of a checklist. So when you get into the rut, obviously you're going to maybe add some rattlers or a call that you wouldn't have carried early season, perhaps. Maybe the colder it gets, especially up here, you're going to change up your snack game a little bit. Obviously extra sets of clothes. If I'm hunting on my family's land, I'm e-biking in. I don't need to worry about it. If I'm going up hunting by Martin, then I need to think about my strategy, because Justin, his land is kind of hilly like yours. You're going from damn near ocean level up to 2,500 feet. These rolling hills, kind of a thing. So he's got 300 some acres. Like you're hiking in quite a ways to find where you're going to hunt. And for someone like me, there's no service, so there's little to no scouting. So you just don't know. You got to play the land. So like those checklists change a little bit. So, but no matter what species, what time of year, I'm trying to just always be ready to go, because you never know when your schedule frees up. Like, I think all of us have ideas of when we want to go. We're all business owners. Life changes, family calls, friends calls, business calls. If I get an afternoon where things change, I just need to be ready to go. So there's a constant mental checklist of where I left things versus where things are always at. So that's probably a little higher than what you wanted, but I honestly don't try to overcomplicate it more than that. That answer your question?
No, that's to me it's just interesting to get different people's perspectives, because I'm a little different. Well, not different, but I'll try and, like, even now I'm leaving Friday or Saturday to go up for a couple week hunt up on my land. I've already started packing this week. So if that was going to the grocery store and picking up a bunch of food ahead of time, going through and actually, like, as I'm finding stuff throughout the house, oh hey, I should probably take this up north. Let's put this on the kitchen table. Oh hey, this is in the basement. This should probably go in the tote. So for me, it's more of the slow pack, instead of trying to, like, shuffle everything into the truck or the car the night before, which I'm sure there's probably
pack
somebody
is
else
good.
at the table that might be that type of packer. I don't know. But to me, it's more of like, it's almost to Justin's point, or not Justin, Jared's point, is just packing ahead of time to just figure out what you need, and having a lot of stuff ready that you can just grab a bag or grab a thing and then just go right away. And then for me on the back end, having a few items that are like multi-purpose. So I've got a big Patagonia tote bag that becomes the laundry bag. So it's making sure that, like, on the back end, that, okay, this was used for XYZ for getting there. Well, this is going to be used for XYZ on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say organization is key, but unlike y'all, I am definitely throwing everything in the truck last minute, because that's that's just me. It never works out good. So usually my first, I don't know, 5 hunts is like a warm up. It's just practice for getting actually into the groove. A few things I know I like to keep my release and my rangefinder in my pack at all times, because I always have my pack, and at least if I have that and my bow. But I mean, dude, I've literally forgot my bow at the car before. I got a mile deep and realized I didn't have my bow. So I'm very forgetful if I can forget it, and that's partly why I'm a minimalist, because man, if I can forget it, I will. So yeah, I think like y'all said, organization is key. So if you can pack early, like Martin, or just have your stuff ready to go, like Jared said, you're definitely going to be better off than throwing everything in the truck last minute, because it will cost you time. The other day, I looked all over the house, probably spent 30 minutes looking for my pistol and couldn't find it. I was kind of worried that someone might have stole it or something, because, I usually know exactly where it's at. Like you said, Jared, you're trying to mentally check off where everything is. And then there's that one thing, like my keys or wallet, that I just can't find. And, when you got like an hour and a half drive, or like an hour drive and then an hour walk, you got to leave the house at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And then any time you waste is time that you're losing getting to your stand. And me personally, I like to be in the stand like early. So I like there to be 30 minutes to an hour if I can, before to let everything calm down, settle down. But uh,
Yeah.
I like to keep, if I can keep it in my truck, then I'll keep it there. That way, I'll have it. But definitely organization is key, not only to a successful hunt, but just to less anxiety and stress. So I'm definitely going to try to do a better job. But like I said, the first 3 to 5 hunts, it's all, it is
Yep.
what it is. So
Yep, I agree 100%. Because even for me this year, it was like the first one where I went on public. I was like, and I practiced like Jared said. Like I get crazy looks from my neighbors all the time because I'll literally get done with work at like 4 or 5 o'clock, and I'll literally be up in the tree in like 2 minutes, and I'll just sit there for a half hour. And all of a sudden, like somebody will walk by with a dog, and Archer will just be sitting in the grass, not doing anything. And then somebody will look up. Oh, hey, you're up there.
It's a thing. The I like the minimalist comment too. Like obviously bring what makes you comfortable, but I was the guy who got an Eberly stock X2, which, can hold the whole city of Milwaukee in it. And then because of that, I would bring stuff and it's like, no, like fine, whatever. But the more stuff you have, the more stuff you have to forget. Right.
Yeah.
And even if you're trying to, yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And then more noise, more weight. So, man, if you don't need it, but then again, you wouldn't know unless you like you were saying, like you intentionally have. I dare not call them a throwaway hunt because every hunt has potential to do what you need it to do. Harvest something, but like you're getting your reps in, and just becoming familiar with that gear, whether that's a new elevation, a new piece of equipment, the weather. Obviously even climbing in a different tree, a different species, like all that stuff kind of matters. So you do it once or twice, you kind of remember what works in that scenario. I never used to do this too, like using Onyx or Spartan Forge are the two we've used, but doing a better job of journaling too, especially during scouting more so than actual hunting, but taking notes of what worked in those scenarios, which I would have never thought to doing that. And then I'm like, I see Martin over here writing all the time. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, guys, taking notes. So when I come back and review these pins, I can remind myself what was going on then. Because otherwise you just see a map full of pins with no data tied to it. You're like, wow, I got to clear these out because I can't see anything. So I just went to North Dakota and did a waterfowl shoot. And I was that guy where I was, got out there and realized I forgot some camera equipment. And that was because I was packing all the way to the last minute. It's like, I should have known better. And you still step in the trap, but it's an ongoing effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. All right, next card. Pack it, use it, love it. Your ultimate guide to packing the essentials and showcasing the gear you're most eager to put to the test this year. Justin, if you want you take the lead on this one.
Yeah. So for me, obviously, I kind of invented my own little hunting system, the Chammock. I use that a ton. So basically, a chair hammock sets up in between two trees. Since I live in Alabama, we rank like number 5 in the most trees, the state with the most trees. So I always have somewhere to hunt, especially on these management areas because most of them are just big woods and little cutovers and stuff. And I prefer to get in those cutovers. And I would say, that is definitely my main piece of gear that I like. I literally keep it in my pack at all times. And even if I'm hunting out of a tree, I have it in my pack still. So, because it only weighs 1.5 pounds. I mean, if I'm in a tree and I see action or uh, this happens all the time, like up in the mountains where I'm at, the wind changes, like it can change on a dime. And then all of a sudden your wind is blowing like right in. You're hearing deer literally blow at you from 200-300 yards away because your wind just changes all of a sudden. So if I need to, I can straight rappel out of a tree, get out and just leave. I can literally leave the stand and go on and hunt the ground with the Chammock. But another little thing that I like to keep on me if I'm gun hunting, I have a little thing called the Oh Shoot kit. And I was climbing up a mountain. It's one of my favorite places to hunt, but it's like an hour walk straight up a mountain. And I got almost to the top, and a vine literally ripped my rifle, grabbed the scope, ripped my rifle out of my hands, and then barrel dirt straight up. So here it is, like 5 in the morning, and I'm trying to blow the dirt out of the barrel of this rifle out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, man, I have to have something. So I wound up making a little kit, and all it is just like a snake, like a boar snake. I keep a few wet lens cloths for like rifle scopes, binoculars. I don't ever use binoculars, but I have a little binocular. I keep it. I use it every once in a while, and then rangefinder, of course, if I'm bow hunting. So those two things are like essentials in my backpack. I love to have them. I also keep band-aids in them because, like one time I was actually hunting, I had a buck run up on me, and here I am like, man, trying to get it stopped. I get it to stop behind me, but I'm saddle hunting, so I turn around behind me, but it's a weak side shot, and I just yanked that. I mean, you know how hard it is to shoot weak side, so I knew it was going to be hard, and I just yanked the bow back as hard as I could just to get it to hit that let off. And for some dumb reason, I extended my index finger, and I was using the Magnus Stinger broadheads, and they are actually sharp on the back side of the broadhead. So when it hit let off, it hit my finger, and there's literally a gash, scar right across my finger, laid my finger right open, and I had kayaked in like a mile, so I tore something up. I can't remember what it was. I had cut something and wrapped it around my finger to stop the bleeding. Posted a picture of my bloody boots on the internet. Was like, is this a good blood trail? So something like that, little medical kit, comes in super handy when you need it. Hopefully you don't have to have it, but when you do, and a few extra rounds too.
I sliced my thumb open following Martin around one year and didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to, for him to make fun of me. So I was just grabbing like leaves and branches off and tying it around, just to try to stop it. And we finally, a couple miles later, he looks down at my thumb and there's just blood everywhere. He's like, dude, what the hell? I'm just like, hey, no, not a big deal. Don't make it something. But yeah, having a Band-Aid would have made the day. Sure.
It's so simple, but it's that, or even a little bit of like electrical tape and some like gauze or something. Something's better than nothing. And man, I'm accident prone too, so I try to be careful. I'm out in the woods because I'm typically pretty far out. I'm always by myself, or just about always by myself. So it's nice to have something when you need it if you have to.
Absolutely.
All right, Jared, what's some gear that you're looking for to use this rut?
This seems appropriate because who we're talking to. Yeah, this is correct me if I say it wrong, but it's the geared up Linemen's rope. Is that the proper name?
Yeah, that's it, man. Inspired by Mr. Martin himself.
Mr. Martin. Yeah, I don't know how the whole story went down. You already had a similar product, correct? And then he just gave you some mod.
Right. Yeah. So the Featherlight Lineman's rope. It's been one of my best sellers for a long time. And then he come along and was like, "Hey man, could I have it adjustable on both sides?" So, asking you shall receive. So,
yeah, we did the video and it was super clever. And normally, like even, what I have works, but like just having the ability, it just seems so goofy to not have the ability to do it on both sides. Especially like why having the confidence that these types of knots will hold you either way. But if I needed to make the adjustment, why not? Plus, I think what really kind of got me excited was not just the fact that you had the sort of flexibility with the rope on both sides. It was using it as another mechanism, as almost like a hitch strap. Like you could hang it, cinch it, and now you had another thing to hold your bag, and then another strap could be exclusively for some other little accessories, which means some of those, I don't want to call them cheap or standard or whatever the right word is, but like they get real loose. Like I'm always like, they're going to slip. Like this bag's too heavy. Like it's going to pull it down. But like with this rope, if it can hold, part of my language, my big ass up in a tree, it's going to hold my backpack, you know? So I thought that was pretty clever how Martin was using his stuff. So I got super excited about it. So I figured it was about time I looked into what you guys were doing over at Wildline. So I'm excited to use that. Just got it actually when I was gone on the road for that duck hunting shoot. So I have not even used it yet. That's why it's first on my list. Something else on the list is and I've used this already, but Martin brought it back from the Mobile Hunter Show. Yeah, I'm sure everyone's seen this advertised. So it's just a limb saw, but it's got those funky little handles on it, so you can cut off a branch and use it. And I did use it that way to clear some shooting lanes and some other branches. I even had a tree about almost 12 inches in diameter over a path, a UTV path, and I used that to saw through it. So
that's actually a great thing to have. I like to keep. So about 2 years ago, I was coming out of the management area, and that was, like you said, there was a tree. It was probably 10 inches in diameter, about that big, and it was just over the trail, big enough for me, not to be able to move it. And at least I had it, but all I had was a SOG throwing hatchet.
Yeah.
This is a very small, and I stood there for 2 hours, and I chopped the tree down. But after that, I was like, man, no more. So I went out and I'm sure everybody's familiar with the Silky brand. I bought the Silky Big Boy, it's a big folding saw. And me and my brother were out riding some national forest in Georgia just the other night. And there was a big tree. It wasn't a big tree, but it was the top broke out of a maple. And it was a bunch of, limbs in the way. And I told him, I was like, well, you get out there, hold the tree, and I'll cut the limbs, 4 or 5 minutes. We had it done, cleared up, good to go. So
they slice.
Definitely perfect to have.
Yeah, and these are nice because they're small and they can fit just in the sleeve of your pack. And I think they come in more handy. Like I've there's been plenty of times where I wish I had it. Now I just carry it all the time. I did have a different brand. I couldn't even tell you what it was. This one is arguably a smaller profile and then comes with those extra locking abilities. Plus you can do an underhand cut too, the way the blade comes back. So yeah, that was a nice little addition to the pickup. Third thing I don't have with me, but it's an upgrade. I had the original Latitude profile platform, which I liked for price. But I bought the new one, the XL, that has the new extended, I guess you call them wings, for the tow seat on it. And as goofy as that sounds, and I've actually talked about this in other episodes, but like I thought I was going to fall off every time I tried to seat the original design because there was nothing to get your boot on. And I only have like a size 9.5, 10-inch boot. So this now actually has a decent enough platform where like I can stand on it, put all my weight on it, seat the platform properly. And I sit in some trees that are pretty dense. So I don't think they sharpen the teeth on them, but just being able to seat it properly in confidence, because I am the guy who will lean out crazy and put a lot of weight onto the edge of my platform. So I've already used that once this year in an actual sit. That was enjoyable, and I'm glad I have that upgrade too. But those are probably the three things that I'm most jazzed about this season.
Nice. I have a few. The biggest one I would say though is Lathrop and Sons. They have insoles, so they have two different ones. They have a cold weather one, the cold weather performance non-typical. So it gives you
say the name fast 3 times.
Lathrop and Sons, Lathrop and Sons, Lathrop and Sons.
Impressive.
Money. But it's got, to me, it's just the biggest thing for me is that comfort with the heel cushion on it. And the fact that these are designed for cold weather, so you can kind of see like that waffling that's on that. So that'll trap heat beneath your feet. Well, hopefully that will also give it more ability to have airflow underneath your foot. So if you do have any sort of moisture, it can dissipate. And then the other one, depending on what the weather's like for the rut, is their Synergy ones. So these actually have like a gel to them, so you can kind of see they have that thicker heel on the back, but then it tapers. But the thing that's nice is they've got these wings on it, so it actually like curves around your foot. So if you're putting these in for, like, say for example, you've got to hike a decent ways back, these are really nice because it gives you a little bit more comfort than what's traditionally in any sort of boots, which is pretty much paper towels with a label on it. Those are one of the items. One of the first podcasts we did on this series was the Hattie Bowl game call. I'm excited to actually use this year. I mean, I used it once or twice last year, but I think it was just user error, not knowing when to correctly use it and how to use it. The thing that I like with this is both an inhale and an exhale grunt call. So for us up here, when it's colder out, the problem is a lot of times if you get moisture in these, then they don't work anymore. So if you're just doing the inhale portion, there's no way for moisture to get into it to kind of have it freeze. So to me, that was one of the things that I liked about it. And the fact with the inhale, you can have a little bit more control on being quieter with it. Compared to, you can flip it the other way and then have a little bit more volume and tone to it. So depending on what type of weather you're in, if it's high winds or, say for example, you've got no wind at all, it gives you a little bit more flexibility on how loud you need to be with it. And the third, we'd already kind of pointed out a little bit, but I'm pretty excited to use this. Like I said, I hunted with it once. I've set it up in the front yard 2 or 3 other times. To me, I just like the fact on how thin this is for packs. So especially if you've got a long walk in and you don't want to be carrying a ton of stuff, but you still want a decent platform. The thing that I really like about this is once you have it set, this thing is rock solid. I mean, you can literally, like I did a video, I didn't do a video yet, but literally I was jumping on this outside edge here at like 220, and that thing wasn't like, nothing was moving, nothing was budging.
Are you going to go on record and say that's your platform of choice now? Because you've got a lot of platforms, a platform collection.
That's probably one of 3 or 4 that'll come up with me. So the Kunai, the Ranger from Lone Wolf Custom Gear. I've also got a 1.0, and then I also have the Lone Wolf Custom Gear Fix. I don't know if I'll bring the Fix with, just because that's a smaller one, but that might even just get set on a tree and left there.
I want to hear you rank them. I want to put you on the spot. I want to make it uncomfortable. What out of the 4, put them in order right now?
Situationally, if I had to pick one to just use right now, I'd probably use the Kunai to start. The only downside is I don't like it that there's not any sort of knee pad system with it, because I'm not a big fan of wearing knee pads. For some reason, I just haven't found a pair that actually like stay on. Now that might be just user error or whatever, but to me, I'd rather have. I like the setup for the Kunai, but I prefer having the knee pad built in with the Ranger. The only thing I don't like about the Ranger is and not that it's that difficult. I just haven't found a great way to carry it in, because you can't really strap it on a backpack. And the way for me with my taller torso, I haven't found, I mean, you can use the straps that they provide, but I haven't found a great way to carry it in that way yet that's comfortable for me. And I know other people have, I just haven't figured out a way to do it. So 1 was Kunai, 2 is the Ranger. I mean, those are kind of a toss up between the 2. You could pick either one as 1 and 2. I'd probably use the Fix as 3 and this is 4, but I've never really been a true hang-on hunter. Even when I did just predominantly gun hunting before I picked up a bow, I never hunted out of a hang-on. I always did like a ladder stand, or most of the time when I was a kid, I just hunted from the ground and literally would just find a rock with a thermopad and sit down.
You never did a climber either?
I did a climber when I first started doing bow hunting, because that was what my buddy that I went bow hunting with used, was a climber. but that lasted all of about 6 months, and then I sold that sucker right away because I hated carrying pallet. Like I call it a pallet pusher. Not that climbers aren't the way to go, but to me, it's literally you're strapping a pallet on your back like you're a Ninja Turtle and going to work.
To interject here, so a little tip that I like to do for knees, that was always a problem with, like, for me in saddle hunting. See, I actually like to do a more hybrid hunt. So I got a beast stand from the guys at the Michigan show basically last year, and I do the hybrid setup now. So I'll basically kind of like one stick up, and then I'll set my stand, and then I'll just sit in my stand. And when I did more of my saddle hunting, what I do is I take my backpack, and my backpack has the waist buckle on it, and that waist buckle's padded. So I would set the backpack up on the tree to where that padded waist buckle is, and I'd stick my knees into that. And that for me was about the best way to do it, just because you didn't have to have anything extra. You already got your backpack. Sometimes I'd leave it on the ground, but then I wouldn't have, no way to access. Like, man, if I'm going hunting and I'm going to be out there all day, then I'm taking food of some sort. I gotta have something to eat. I'll take snacks just to keep me awake. I'll eat just to stay awake. So, because if I get comfortable, man, like the other day when the first day I went hunting, October 15th was our opener. So being in the hunting industry, I'm working so much this time of year. I usually work till 2 or 3 in the morning. Well, now I should be waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I got out there, and it was basically all I could do to stay awake. I'm not sure I was even awake for half the time, but I didn't see nothing. I don't know. They might have been there. They might have not.
I do the same thing when I'm editing video and it's late at night and I'm dozing off. Like if I have a snack, like the act of like eating something will force you to stay awake.
Chewing gum.
Yeah.
Or like, as weird as it sounds, like a sucker, because it lasts so long, and then it like like a blow pop or whatever, because it has the gum on the inside. Yeah. So like then you chew the gum. Yeah, just
love that.
Something I can't stand being on my phone. Like if I'm gonna be out there, I like to be like paying attention. And too, I ground hunt a ton, and there's no room for error when you're ground hunting, and the cover's limited. So that movement will get you busted quicker than it'll run your trip. It'll make it or break it. So.
Absolutely.
Makes sense. All right, I think that's a great way to transition to the next topic. Fuel for your hunt, your go-to snacks, drinks, and foods to keep you energized while in the wild. I will take that because I am the fat guy in the group. Even though I'm probably one of the skinniest, I eat the most, I guarantee it. Snacks, meat sticks of some sort, if that's from venison, pretty much any sort of wild game snacks. If I can get venison sticks, goose sticks, or even just going to the local meat market and getting some like fresh beef sticks or turkey sticks. Fruit snacks. Fruit snacks are a big thing for me just because it's a way to get some energy in the system without crashing too hard. I don't really if I do make sandwiches, it's usually like a peanut butter and jelly or a peanut butter and honey. To me, it's just, I don't need anything fancy. I don't need a big BLT or a tuna club sandwich, or I'm not going to Subway. I'm going to just build the same sandwiches my mom used to make me as a kid. I don't need anything fancy, nothing beautiful. And then probably bringing water-wise, I'll bring one of these on minimum. Just because even though I don't need more than that, I used to just bring a small amount of water, but I've learned that if I don't drink enough water throughout the day, I'll hit that point at the end of the day where I'm just kind of like sluggish. One point that Justin brought up earlier, one thing I'm going to bring this year is something that we had at the Mobile Hunters Expo for the staff, is the Neuro Gum and the Neuro Mints. The mints are crazy. Well, I wouldn't say crazy, but they're nice because they're pretty much instant caffeine. They're 100 milligram mints that only take about 5 minutes to kick in. The gum is a little bit different because you don't have as much of an instant kick to it, but it gives you a little bit of energy. It's the same stuff that Joe Rogan uses when he does podcasts for the gum. Excuse me. Justin, what are your go-to snacks, food, drinks for the woods?
Well, so this year it's actually changed a lot. In years prior, like every year prior, so since April 21st, I've been completely free of energy drinks. I have not had an energy drink since April 21st. That was usually my go-to. I'd grab just whatever energy drink. I grab one or two of them and then a water. But this year, my go-to is probably going to be a Gatorade. And Gatorade come out with these. They're called Gatorade mashups, and it's fruit punch and the Cool Blue mixed together. Tastes like Kool-Aid to me, and that's probably going to be my go-to. I've got one in the freezer, frozen solid right now, and then I've got another one just sitting, chilling to throw in my pack, and then I'll usually take a water. But as far as food, man, dude, if I go out there, I'm probably going to be eating good. Like, man, we'll make homemade pizza, and I'll bring that with me. Sandwiches. There's a Subway that's open 24 hours, and it's about a 40 minute drive out of the way. And I have really been considering about getting a sandwich and just leaving early, leave an hour early, go get a sandwich, and then have my food for the whole day. I could eat twice. I like to eat at least twice a day, 2 times, like around breakfast, something. Now, me, myself, I don't really eat breakfast. I really eat more like lunch and dinner. But when I'm out hunting, I've gotten up so early, so around breakfast time, I'm getting kind of hungry. I'll try to have something. My go-to is probably still going to be like chocolate or something like that. I mean, I love chocolate, so my wife makes some pretty good cookies. I'm pretty excited. Like, I will be taking 3 to 5 cookies and a glass of milk. Like, I will literally have a whole jar of milk when it gets cold enough. Because that's the nice thing about when you go in lightweight, especially if I'm just ground hunting or gun hunting. Because I'll just hunt off the Chammock and I won't have anything extra, and I can just I have room for food and clothes, and that's what I really need. So, yeah, man, I love good food. So I've literally taken pies out in the woods. Like, man, ain't nothing. Like, literally, like, the Edwards pies, like the ones you get at like Burger King, the Hershey's ones. Those are so good. I've taken those out. Hey, man, I'm eating good when I'm up there. All right?
I love it.
Hey, I can't laugh because your wife's cookies like, just to interject a little bit. So if anybody doesn't know, Justin's wife loves to bake and she's very good at it. Well, when I figured out that she liked to bake and I knew that they were coming to the Southern show to sell some of their products, I reached out to his wife to make me some cookies. Well, she made 2 dozen of her oatmeal chocolate chip cookies, and those things were amazing. If she could ship them, there'd be 2 dozen sitting at deer camp this year for sure.
Those, I think they were the oatmeal Rice Krispie cookies. They're slightly different. They got Rice Krispie in them, so I think that was the ones that you got. I might be mistaken. There's some upstairs right now. I will be eating them after this is over. So
I hate
just
you.
to let you know.
I hate you right now. I love cookies. I love cookies. It's like a good chocolate chip cookie. And the fact that, like, the ones that his wife made were made with oatmeal, which didn't have a ton of gluten in them. After we did one of the nights at I think it was after the brewery thing with the backcountry hunters and anglers. Well, I brought out a box and shared some with all the other staff workers. Yeah, I think we're probably just going to order like 3 dozen next year just for the staff. That might be our breakfast every morning.
I told her that I'll supply them. Like, I'll make her make them, and just that y'all ain't got to buy them. I'll just supply them for you guys, and we'll call it a contribute from Wildline Ropes. Did you have her? You didn't have the chocolate espresso, did you?
No.
Okay, those are probably my favorite. But I love chocolate. Like I love chocolate, but like if I eat a lot of chocolate, it actually makes my face break out. It's kind of weird, but I don't care. I'm gonna eat the chocolate, so it is what it is.
You got to find some rope cookie bundle and get like clever with it. Buy X amount of
Yeah,
ropes, get
you
a
know
cookie.
Yeah, get a cookie.
shipping.
$500. Get a free six rack of cookies.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I love all of it. The man, it seems like for me, the colder it gets, the more I want to do what you're doing, right? Like I want to, because if you get tired, you get cold. I think your mind wanders more the colder it gets, and you start second guessing things. So to keep you focused on staying out there longer, um, obviously, food in your belly or a warm drink keeps you warm, right? So like you just have energy and kind of even your body digesting food. So like I know the colder it gets, the more I will bring. When it's earlier, I will stick mainly more to meat snacks. I am that guy who, if I shot a deer in that area, I will bring those steaks or venison back to that spot. Letting them know how the story ended. The the one thing I always will have with me every year, and this goes back to when I used to sit with my grandfather, who's no longer with us. He's the one who taught me hunting, but it was always the Nutter Butter bars, like the wafers with the peanut butter in. Like I always will have several of those with me. I don't know why it's just become a thing. There's no shortage of like granola bars out there, but I will always flock to the Cliff bars, and just like I'll have a couple different flavors of those. Um, I just love how dense they are. They're pretty packed with decent stuff for the most part, organic materials. Um, and they're small in size, so they're easy to pack several in a bag. And then I was the guy that would throw everything on a sandwich, but then you'd pull it out and then it would be smushed and soggy. So I'm very strategic with what goes on a sandwich, kind of like what you guys were saying. I love having a sandwich. I just want to make sure whatever's in there isn't just a sloppy mess by the time you're ready to eat it.
What I figured out that's helped a lot is to make the sandwich, make it dry, like don't put no condiments on it, and just go to like Burger King or McDonald's or wherever and just get like some condiments from them to carry with you, and
Yep.
just put it on as you go. Because like you said, nobody wants a soggy sandwich, like nobody. So
Yeah. Dude, I could have
you
kicked myself because I love pickles, and we were at Martin's beer camp, and he had the giant slabs. I'm like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna put one on there." And I got to the stand, and it was just mush. And I was just like, "Dude, I've never been so let down from a sandwich before in my life," and it was all because of the pickle.
Yep, I'm 100% because we used to do the whole like high end sandwich, like, oh, it's so good, it's so great. And your point, by the time you look at the bread, it's just all mush. And I'm like, oh,
Even
I
the
was looking
birds are
forward to
just
this
like,
at 11
"Screw it."
o'clock. Now this stuff is gone.
So, what I'd say though, back to the meat snacks, because that's like a given. Like you got to have some protein, So like jerky of some sort. If I don't make the jerky or I don't have any, then I'll go to a store. And I actually got my vacuum sealer down here. I bought some like these meat sticks, and I'm just gonna take my vacuum sealer and seal me up about 3 of them. And if you're making your own jerky, man, if you don't put toothpicks in your packs of jerky, you're really missing out, man. I always put 1 or 2 in there because I will have something stuck in my teeth, and I'll sit there. I mean, it might help me keep me awake actually, because I'll sit there with my tongue and try to like force it out or dig it out.
Yeah,
I can't stand it. So if you do your own jerky, make sure you're putting those toothpicks in there.
absolutely.
Speaking on the protein thing, one thing that we did last year, or I tried out last year, is getting a muffin tin and then scrambling up a bunch of eggs and then putting whatever you want in there as like a filler. So I've done like pork sausage, bacon, and then whatever veggies you want. And then just add the egg and then a little bit of shredded cheese on it. Put it in the oven for like 15 minutes at 300. And then you literally got protein pucks that you can just eat whenever you need to. So depending if you want to just do mini cupcakes, regular ones, or like the giant ones, then you've got your protein for the day, and you're getting something that's going to have some fat that'll help you kind of sustain energy throughout the day.
Just a omelet pie pan.
Pretty much.
think my
No,
wife actually made those before. And one thing I am really excited this year when we was at the shows, the Mobile Hunter Expo. They had I may be mispronouncing this, but the Mamal's Kitchen, the dried food like the bags.
Yes.
I don't know if you tried the cheesy enchilada or not, but they had like a little sample there. We were set up right next to them, so of course, we went and tried the sample. And I'm kind of a food snob, so like I tried it and I was like, man, dude, for like an instant type meal, I was very impressed. So we wound up getting several of those, and I'm actually really excited to try that out. The one problem is you need heated water, right? You need some kind of hot water to let it sit and cook in the bag. Well, earlier this year, my a guy I know, he wound up giving me this solar powered water heater. So it's like this glass vial type thing, and it's supposed to work in the winter or any time of year and can literally boil water. It can get so hot. But I'm actually very interested to see if I can get this water hot enough during, because being in the South, man, my cold and y'all's cold probably ain't the same thing. Uh, yeah, it's like we are luck. We'll typically have maybe a week or two of weather in the teens, and most of it's like 20, 30 degrees. And on a sunny day, it might hit 50, 60 degrees by, the evening, which kind of makes it hard to hunt. Man, that's one thing that I've hunted out here my whole life, or not my whole life, but 10 years now. And it's so hard to kind of judge what to wear for that temperature range. It's I don't know if y'all have that problem as much up there, but it is a serious problem down here. Because it'll be freezing walking in, and then all of a sudden, you're baking.
The during the rut last year, I was hanging in a tree, and I think it was like -10 without the wind, and it was like 30-mile-an-hour wind. So I think it felt like -20. It was like,
So that was during gun season, wasn't it? When you're
gun
up at your
season still,
uncle's?
yeah.
Yeah, that was gun season. But still, yeah, we're not going to get, for us, maybe we get a 20-degree change throughout the day, but it's usually, when I harvested that buck a few years ago, I don't think it was much more than a 15-degree change from when it was in the morning to what it was midday.
It's really mellowed out. When we were kids, you'd enter. Well, this was all gun season still, but like come November, you'd have 2 feet of snow already on the ground. Now we don't get that till like December, so like it's chilled out, but like it'll still be cold. It's just what Martin's saying. It's shouldn't say that. Also, like the next time we sit, you will get the swings. Like there are days where we'll experience that, where you're walking in and you've got everything unzipped, you've got layers off, you're just dying, sweating, and then you're putting it all back on. But I feel like what it used to be like when we were kids, it's kind of mellowed out a little bit collectively. I feel like it's a safe statement. But yeah, the colder months, late season gets ridiculous. Everyone starts saying, yeah, they're going to hunt all season long, and then you get into like end of December, and you got to have a set on you, or just have no meat. Like
that's what it's like. What's interesting is, and I'm very grateful for it because I'm so busy during this time of year in the earlier part of the year that, if I had the rut that y'all had, I probably wouldn't even get to hunt it as much. But where I'm at specifically, our rut is actually in January. So it's usually, for the South, it's about the coldest, January, February. It goes all the way into February. So that's about the coldest part of the year. And I like it because it helps keep out people
yeah,
because a lot of people will not and cannot handle it. I mean, I will literally hear four-wheelers crank up about 9:30 in the morning, and I try to tell these guys, I'm like, look, in my experience, these deer, when it's super cold like that in the South, these deer they handle it differently, in my opinion. They'll typically bed down when it's super cold in the mornings like that. And then around 9, 10, 11, as it warms up, they'll get up and move. Whereas it's probably a little bit different in an area like y'all are in where it's so cold all the time, they have to move.
mm-hmm.
There's they probably have to be on their feet a little bit more to keep the energy and heat.
The last couple years it's been warmer, so you're absolutely right. They didn't need to move. Last year it got pretty cold by the time gun season rolled around, and there's definitely more movement. And then you're absolutely right. There's people that just whether it's the gear or the blind they're in or whatever, where they just tap out early. So then they're moving and chasing deer around too. So that's all part of the strategy, and it's fun, especially whether it's neighbors or someone in your crew or whatever. Um, public land, making sure you're in a strategic spot as guys come in and out, whether they got up late or leaving early because of the cold. It's all part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of what the sexiness of mobile hunting, saddle hunting, right? Like getting into deeper spots, being able to sit longer, push it farther, it's part of the reason why I even got that X2 bag. Like it's arguably overkill on any given day, but I can pack these extra elements that I try not to, but in doing so, I can stay out there longer, right? The temperature swings, who cares? I got a piece for that, when everyone else is getting cold or getting rained on or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Opportunity. Let's pull the next card.
Oh, hell yeah. All right.
Base camp essentials, a checklist of must-have items to ensure your camp is fully equipped for comfort and success. Justin, if you want to take the lead.
All right, man. So this is something where I wouldn't say I'm the best at, because so about 7 years ago, I was way off in the management area and I actually got my car stuck. And I wound up walking for probably like 15 miles to get out of the management area. And I met some guys, and those guys helped me get my car unstuck, and basically I haven't left their side since. Like, I always go and hang out with them. And this specific management area actually allows you to bring like a camper and set up a camp. So we always have, like, they usually set up a camp. We always have, every kind of basic thing you would need, like there's places to sleep if you need it. They've got, an awesome campfire. They've got a grill out there. So I would say mainly as long as you have, good, comfortable sleeping conditions of some sort, whether that be like me, a hammock, man, I've done a lot of camping in hammocks, and a lot of people can't get comfortable in them. I like them. They work really good for me. We also bought a really nice cot about 2-3 years ago that's come out super handy. It's can't remember the name of it, but it's like an extra large cot. I mean, it's super comfortable, a lot of room. A cooler, definitely cooler food, drinks, just your typical stuff that to get you through the day. And really, man, just with our base camp, it's really just about having a good time and hanging out with the guys. So that's my favorite part of it. And last year, since I tagged out early last year, I wound up taking my smoker down there, and I smoked ribs while the other guys were, hunting. So by the time they get back to camp, we had Chipotle honey ribs. First time I ever made them, and I made Chipotles the other day. I had a little pepper plant on my back porch and probably got about 10 red jalapenos, and smoked them for about 4 hours. And so I'll be using those to do that again this year. Hopefully I won't tag out before rut, because that's where I messed up. Like, I'll tell you what it was is I got the last like 4 or 5 years I really haven't. Me and my wife's basically sharing a vehicle, and her Hyundai Tucson cannot get very far anywhere when it comes to some of these roads. So not only was I super limited on where I could hunt, but I was super limited on when I could hunt, which is the most major. I mean, I don't care what it is. Like, if you've got a ride, you should be thankful, because you can't get out there to them if you ain't got no way to. So that, I got my truck around Thanksgiving, and literally in like a month I was tagged out with $3. So The second buck I shot, I wish I didn't. I wish I'd have waited. He was my first buck with a muzzleloader, so I mean that's cool with me. He's a nice buck, but I wound up seeing like 5 or 6 other way better deer, so it's whatever.
I always tell myself I'm going to shoot right away when I'll see. But thankfully, I've been able to see deer right away, and I'm just like, man, I get some perfect shots, and I'm like, don't do it. You'll see deer. Wait for the rut, and then then you just don't know. This is the
Yeah,
reality.
yeah.
And
You wind up
sometimes
skipping on some. You'll wind up skipping on some good ones, and then because you think there'll be a better one, and then you come along, there's no better one, and then you don't have nothing to show for it. So
Yep.
it's
Yep.
Good old tag soup.
Oh man, it's a hard choice. It is.
Yep.
I'll go next. I say for me, the essentials is a good, comfortable sweatshirt. So after you come in from a long hunt, something that's thick and warm or comfortable, if that's sitting around the campfire or being able to be next to the wood stove to warm up. Another thing is having power to be able to just recharge your phone or recharge some of your smaller items. I think obviously the convenience of being able to disconnect from the outside world is convenient, but making sure that you have your phone, that it can still be used as a navigation device, even though everybody should carry a compass. To me, that's a must-have no matter where you go. If it's something you've already been there a million times or not, you need to have that backup plan when your phone dies. So yeah, comfy clothes, some form of being able to recharge all of your electronics, and then snacks. Snacks are must-have. If that's like chips and dips or harvest from the year before from any sort of jerky or sticks, or and then being able to like you had talked about, socialize. If that's playing a card game like cribbage or poker, or if that's smoking cigars outside, or just having some bourbon or other drinks that you prefer. Just kind of, I think the big thing is just having that experience.
Yeah, it's one of the things that if at all possible, man, a shower cannot be beat after a long day of hunting. Man, if there's some way to get a warm shower on a cold day, in my opinion, that's like the most refreshing thing ever. But it's not always, you're not always going to have it at camp. But if you can have it, then that's like something I love. But
you guys took my two. The shower would be clutch, and Martin's cabin, although it's a really nice cabin, it is off the grid. So we put together some, whether it's man pumps or manual pump ones, or working on some battery configurations to try to do that. I've seen some clever stuff with even like IBC totes turn into like stalls, kind of a thing. If you don't have that, then man, I never thought I would buy so much of the body wipes, like dude wipes, and some of those brands are nice, especially if you're sweating out and stuff like that, or you're up there for several days. Those can buy you another couple days of not having to swap out or find something to reset yourself on, if you will. The keep the hygiene in check. The other thing was power, like Martin said. Part of mine is similar for that. Like I try to cut loose, and even if I'm not plugged into the world for work, a lot of times I'm always self-filming for things tied to Geared Up North, through my other companies, or just for my own self-interest and just adding to the challenge of ready mobile hunting. So always charging camera gears, phones, all that other stuff, dumping footage, making sure I have everything backed up. But then even things like boot dryers. I have my feet sweat like crazy. So I'll carry like a Jackery battery along that can get me through like a weekend easily, where I could charge camera batteries, phones, radios, walkie-talkies, heaven forbid you're using those if you're spread out. And then boot dryers, just being able, I can't stand putting on boots that are already like wet and damp from the day before. It drives me nuts. Or putting on like fresh, clean socks and now they're already, juiced because your boots are moist. So I like those things, those little comfort things. And then you guys nailed it on the head too. That was my favorite part when I grew up hunting with my family, which was just gun hunting, but like my cousins and I all got a quarter of a deer, and then my uncle or my grandfather would take the body or the neck, and then everyone got a beer, and then everyone just bullshit for the next couple hours as you processed everyone's deer all at once. I almost look forward more to that than the hunt itself. So now, anytime I'm with friends that want to do any breakdown or games or just that social side of it in general, even if you're not breaking down a deer, like I definitely cherish that the older I get. So 100% to those things. Next card.
All right. Weathering the elements, how to prepare for and adapt to unpredictable weather conditions while you're on your rutcation. Justin, you probably have the biggest changes for temperature if you want to take the lead on
Yeah,
that.
so this is one thing I actually have in my backpack, and I try not to leave it out. It weighs about a pound, but it's a tarp, right? It's a simple waterproof tarp, and I always keep that just in case, because being down here in the South, like, or for one, can't trust the weatherman. Like, all the talk of all this fake news and no mention of the weatherman, shoot, man, he is not truthful. But I've
Wish
been
I could be
out.
running that much of my job.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been out, and it'd be like, oh, 20% chance rain. Well, next thing you know, it's here it comes the rain, and as long as it's not thundering and lightning, then I'm 100% fine sitting out there if I'm dry. If I'm dry, man, it's great. I love it. Like, it's probably the most peaceful, relaxing thing. You just hear that rain hitting the tarp. Last year, this is probably 2 or 3 years ago. I was sitting up on a little hillside. I was on the mountain, and I could see the rain coming in. I was like, well, it wasn't a big storm, but I could see the rain coming. So I grabbed my tarp, and the tarp is actually specifically designed for the Chammock. So it hangs up right above my Chammock. So I'm
Oh, nice.
sitting in my Chammock under it. The tarp's right over it. And it's a product I'd like to sell at some point, but right now my work area is way too small. I can't work with that amount of fabric. It's kind of big, but anyway, I sat up there, man. I had does come in. I watched these does, feed around in the light rain, and they weren't. I was worried the sound of the water kind of hitting the tarp would a lot, but it's raining. They can't hear it if they're 40, 50, 60 yards away. So actually, I've had deer. I set up behind my house one day. I had deer come in like 20 or 30 yards of me with the tarp, and it's a big brown tarp. I figured it'd stick out like a sore thumb, but they didn't seem to care at all about it. So a tarp, and then if you can, just avoid getting wet in general, because man, wet boots will run your hunt. Like you said, with the boot dryer, wet boots, I can't do it. I hate it. I can't stand it. So, if you can avoid the heaviest part of the rain and wait till it, starts to calm down, then get out there, do that, try to stay dry. And as far as like other than rain, the temperature swings here, they're just so dramatic. Like, I'm talking 40, 50 degrees, it can go from 20 to 30. So having appropriate layers, because say when I walk in and it's 20 degrees, I'm basically wearing nothing, because like, other than my base gear, because I'm walking up a mountain, or I'm walking a mile deep, and I don't want to sweat to death wearing like my bibs and jacket. And I mean, you like my bibs and jacket for heavy or late winter, you walk 100 yards and you'll be like sweating to death. Like it'll feel like an inferno. So, yeah, just having appropriate layers for the situation that you're going to be in. And one thing that I love that helps me out a ton, I've been using the last about 3 years or so, heated booties. All right. If my feet get cold, I have to move. I can't sit still. And I would say it's ruined hunts, but it's also got me up and moving and stock hunting. And I love doing that. So that's fun too. But there's some areas that are good, and you just got to be still, So I'll take, especially if I'm gun hunting, I'll take my boots off completely, and I'll put on these electric heated booties. There's like little boots that got a little battery pack. Man, they last 4 to 6 hours. It might be a little bit worse for y'all because y'all's cold weather lasts so long, so you might want like a bigger battery. But for me, being in the South, I'm looking at like 5 or 6 hours. And by the time noon hits, if it ain't like a cold, like a real bad, like cold, like settling cold where it's just like 20, 30 degrees throughout the day, that don't happen a lot. Most time it heats up. When it heats up in the evening, they're insulated, so just the insulation is enough. And that's probably those are my favorite things to have. It's well worth the added weight and stuff. And one other thing that I like to have in my pack that's helped a ton is, especially for later in the season when the weather gets cold, is a compression sack. So I have a very large compression sack in my backpack, and I usually keep my kill kit in it, my knife and gloves and all that. And if I kill a deer and I have to pack it out, which a lot of times that's the case, then what I'll do is I wound up putting both my heavyweight bibs, my heated booties, my jacket, put it all in that compression sack, and it literally packs down to, you would be surprised at how small you can get it by pushing all the air out. And I didn't want it to catch on like briars and stuff. We got a ton of briars down here. So I wound up actually just carrying that in my hand and then just packing the deer out. I don't have like an actual frame pack. I just got the Kuiu Venture 2300 bag. Man, I've been rocking this bag for like 5 years now or so. And I love it, man. It's like, I wish it was a little bit bigger for the later season, but it's about right for me. So I can stick the meat inside the bag, put all my clothes, and keep anything that I don't want to get like bloody or dirty. I'll put in the compression sack, keep it separate, and then you could also take that compression sack and just strap it to the bag itself. So,
That's pretty interesting stuff. I've never heard of anybody doing the compression sack thing, but that makes a lot of sense because, like you said, especially once you remove the air from it, you're excuse me, you're literally just compressing everything, which would make it so much easier. And then that could become your cobweb killer to just hang out in front of you so you don't get cobwebs smoking you in the face.
yeah, you better have a stick down here, man. They're bad. I had a saying that I ain't no actor, but I probably could have played, as much as I've waved a stick around, I probably could have played any Harry Potter role, being out in the woods, just oh man, I about broke down and bought a wakizashi, which is a small katana. Like, what I'm saying, like a small sword. I was like, I got my new spider stick. I'm fed up with them. Usually they're not too bad, but the worst thing is being on the four wheeler. Like, I do a lot of four wheeler. One of the management areas I hunt, it's really rough. It's some of the trails you just can't even drive on with a good truck. Like, I got a Toyota Tacoma, and it can get just about anywhere I want it to go. But some of these roads I will not even want to go down because they are just, they're dangerous. They're bad. And you basically got to have a four-wheeler for them. So take a stick and ratchet strap it to the front of your four-wheeler, and that way you got you some spider web protection.
That's crazy. I don't know when you said waving the stick, Harry Potter, I was like, shoot us Padronus or Padoas or something. I was like, oh my gosh. We'll edit that part out. Yeah, that's wild. When I used to be in Boy Scouts, that was something I used to do, is like my little poor man's growth hack, because we didn't have, if they existed, it was only like for like the extreme outdoorsman. Like, the idea of like a waterproof North Face or Patagonia bag like wasn't really a thing. Like, you had the canvas old like Vietnam military bag is what we had.
Yeah.
And it would rain out, everything would get wet. So like I started taking freezer bags. This is maybe they were out. I didn't have access to them, but like you said, the sealing bags for food, they would have those for I don't know, bed sheets, where you'd use a vacuum cleaner and like kind of suck the air out. I would just take freezer bags, roll everything up, stick as many clothes as I could in a freezer, like Ziploc bag, leave a tiny crack, push the air out. And then at least all my stuff was in plastic bags. So I was the only one that only ever had dry stuff when we were in Boy Scouts, because anything that said it was waterproof back then was not. It would shed stuff off, and the nylon materials and all these things they'd shed for like the first 10 minutes, and then they'd all be saturated.
Yeah. So there's actually something interesting when you're working. That's something I've looked into a lot, and a lot of fabric itself is just not waterproof. There's actually very few, and it's typically really expensive stuff if it's actually really waterproof. So yeah, I like the bag idea is great for keeping your stuff dry, because a lot of these fabrics, like you said, I mean, they're just not, they're water resistant.
Yeah. I'm the guy when I'll just spray it on for regular wear and tear. The combination of different waxes, like even bee waxes or even like synthetic waterproof spray, constantly reapplying it onto just like my regular 200-gram boots, my like regular hikers. Because I'll wear those for video and photo shoots. I'll wear those on the boats when we do boat photography. Like I'm always getting in places where someone's like, "Hey man, go jump in that swamp and go get that shot," and then you're the guy walking 100 yards out and just deathly rotting like cattails. Like everything is just. I'm not, if it's temporary, I'm not afraid to like saturate everything and get it muddy. But that's different when you're doing it for a shot versus if you're trying to sit all day.
Yeah.
Also multiple days, right?
Yeah.
So like you're gonna approach things differently. So like I will. If I don't know, I do the research. I like to get second opinions from guys who've been doing it longer. So like Martin, hey man, have you heard of this? Have you seen this? Do you have any opinions on this? Do you know someone that maybe makes this? Like I will take the time because like you said, I think when it comes to weather, like obviously for me, it's cold and wetness, and sometimes they're related depending on what time of year it is. So feet's a big one for me. Even when we go into ice fishing, all that stuff, right? Like it's really hard to concentrate and do what you need to do if all you're thinking about is your toes are cold. So whatever I can do to keep them dry and warm. Body too, I'm not too worried. My body does a pretty good job regulating temperature, but I kind of I change out depending on the time of year between Osseo and Sitka, and both those brands do a pretty good job between the wind, the cold, and repelling water. My go-to rain jacket packs down super small, and that's a Sitka top and bottom kit, and I've used that all over the place. I even just, again, the trip that I was mentioned earlier out in North Dakota for duck hunting, like that's what I had with me. Doesn't matter what I'm wearing, I'll throw that over the top, and I'll sit twice as long as anyone else. And then I think the big thing that I picked up on is from Martin is just doing a better job of getting the right base layers on. So, spending the extra money to get the right pair of socks, which is typically for me either a Paca or the merino wool, and then finding better base layers that help regulate letting heat out, which I never thought was a thing. I always thought like you got to keep all the heat on you. And the reality is that's a huge mistake. You got to let heat out because you'll overcook sometimes too. So again, back to like a good merino base layer. And then I was the kid that would wear 17 layers growing up because I would just get cold. And the reality with these better brands in materials now, I can get away with like a good base layer and then just the actual gear itself, which is great because then I can move around a lot better. You're not the kid from the Christmas Story that's walking down and tips over and can't push himself back up because his arms are already like full extended. So no one wants to be that kid, but that was me for sure. So I agree with what you're saying. It's even if I have to save up for it or work connections, I'd rather have the right materials. I used to not put a lot of stock in that because I was always would hunt in like a princess blind kind of a thing. But when you're mobile hunting or even a lot of the camera stuff, you're just in these really awkward, sometimes uncomfortable or sometimes even dangerous positions where you're just exposed more than other people might be. So you got to put faith and trust back into the gear in your materials.
And that's something too. So one thing is if you overdo it or if your layers are too tight, they can actually restrict your blood flow, right? Like, so if you got, like, for one thing, I had the Under Armour 4.0 base layers, and they were warm, and I used them for a while because that's what I had. But I didn't realize how bad they actually were for me because they were so tight. For one, they were so tight on me that they were actually restricting blood flow, and I would actually get colder because I didn't have that blood moving appropriately. And they were so hot walking in. What I found out is my favorite base layer, and again I am in the South here, but my favorite base layer is it's the Kuyu. I don't remember the name of it, but it has the dot air fabric, so it's super lightweight. And I'm talking about like when you walk, you literally feel the air cut through the shirt, and I like that not only because, especially like even if it's 20 or 30 degrees in the morning, when you're walking up a mountain, it feels like it's 60, 70, 80 degrees. You know, you're freaking hot.
Right.
So having that, but also it has the ability to dry so quick, right?
Very
So
true. Yep.
where that Under Armour material, it did not dry quick. So I was sitting kind of in like a sweaty, like, and it just, man, there's a world of difference between, a nice light base layer that is good quality and then putting on that better quality, outer layer.
You nailed it. No, I've never heard anyone say that before. I mean, part of it's because you're trying to pick and prevent, but the reality is you're going to push past the limits when you're hiking in gear and all that stuff.
Yep.
The ability for the material or your body to recover after you pushed it too far to sit down. Hey, could this shirt chill out within a 15 to 20 minute window if I air out and open up some vents or something, or am I just going to be a sloppy, sweaty mess the rest of the day? And then when the cold front comes in, I'm going to freeze because I'm wet now. Like,
yeah.
I think the ability to bounce back after you push it too far with some of these newer materials and designs, I think is arguably just as, if not more important than trying to prevent it in the first place. Like it's got to last if I'm going to go all day, it better last all day with me,
Yeah, agreed. I would agree with you guys. I think the biggest thing is base layers. On top of that is actually getting stuff that's windproof or water resistant. So a lot of times you're not going to hunt when it's an absolute downpour. But if you have like a jacket or a coat or a vest or something that's windproof and water resistant, that in its excuse me, that in itself, just to be able to cut the wind. So even if that's just wearing a windproof sweatshirt over your base layers for the walk in, to at least still retain that heat, but not lose that heat. And then when you finally get on stand, putting those extra layers on as soon as you get there, not waiting too long, because at that point you're going to lose so much of that body temperature and that core temp that you brought up that you're going to lose it right away. One other thing that I'll do, or I've done the last couple of years, is I took an old pair of merino socks and cut the toe off, and I'll put that over a boot and then put a boot warmer or a hand warmer on the top of the boot. The only downside to that is because the sock's not waterproof or water resistant or windproof, it doesn't really help if you're getting any sort of drizzle or snow or if there's any inclement weather. That doesn't help. But if it's just regular conditions, that's a great way to at least keep your boots warm without losing a lot of that temp.
And see,
one other tip. So sorry, Justin, go ahead.
I was going to say that's kind of one reason why I went with the heated booties, because I didn't want to have to keep buying hand warmers to put, on my, because I have some of the Arctic Shield boot covers, and they just slip over your boot, and they work pretty decent, and you could throw a hand warmer in there and it'll get you through the day. But I was like, man, do I want to basically buy buy once, cry once, or whatever it is, spend a little bit more, and then, have them all the time. And then, like you said, Martin, man, windproof is a must have, especially like for me, man, if I get on the 4-wheeler and it's 20 degrees outside, if you don't have windproof, man, you're done for. I got the Sitka Fanatic jacket, and that jacket itself has gotten me through more than any other piece of gear that I have, hands down, 100%. The windproof is absolute great. The hand warmer on the front is amazing, and I mean, you got to have it. Like, you got to have windproof gear, in my opinion. Like, if you plan on hunting cold weather, it's just you got to.
I've got a Fanatic. Hell yeah.
Hey, well, let me tell you, like, I bought my Fanatic jacket about 7 years ago. There used to be a Cabela's in it used to be in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, but then they wound up selling out to Bass Pro, and they got rid of the Cabela's. Like literally, the store went there probably 2 years, and they shut down the whole store and just left the Bass Pro. Like that whole building is just empty now. Anyway, it's the biggest waste of money ever. But anyway, uh, they had something called the Bargain Cave, and I went in one day with my wife, and I look over there, and the first thing I see is the Sitka print in the Bargain Cave. So I immediately went to it because I mean I don't have a lot of money to spend, but if it's cheap, then and it lasts, it's worth it. Well, I wound up buying that Sitka Fanatic jacket for $125 out the door. All right. And that's been the best money I think I've hunting wise that I've ever spent. Like,
That's
I
an
mean,
amazing
you
deal.
got to have windproof.
Yeah. Yeah, we had Martin got me into the Sitka lineup, and then he also has now gotten us into the Osio lineup, and they've got a heavier set. I don't remember what their lineup for their heavier stuff is, but they do a great job with the Primaloft and windbreak and noise too. I think Martin's all Osio now. I'm hybrid. I jump between the two brands. We had Joe Miles on a podcast not that long ago, even.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I was able to. Yeah, because Joe kind of broke down his 9 essential pieces that you could use for pretty much early season, rut, late season. Well, I don't know if it was full late season, but it was pretty much his 9 essentials for pieces of gear. Excuse me, pieces of gear that Osio offers. But yeah, let's transition to the next topic. When things go south, creating and executing emergency plans for unexpected situations in the woods or on the way to or from with the vehicle. I'll take the lead on this. One thing that we've done for up at our place up north is just kind of talking through situations with people. So it's understanding if this happens or this happens or this happens, this is the best course or the best scenario to do XYZ. So if there is an accident, here's where the first aid kit is. This is where it is. This is what we're able to fix with it. This is also like knowing which way to go to the hospital. There's 2 hospitals within a 30-minute radius. Which one's closer? Which one's open 24 hours? Where's the urgent care? So a lot of that is noted down on a sheet of paper that people can then look at and literally grab and say, cool, this is the address that we need to go to. This is the direction of travel we need to start. Because our biggest struggle is you might not have cell reception to be able to get the directions you need on your phone right away. So at least having a general form of direction of, okay, when you hit the bottom of the hill, you got to go this way all the way to this highway, take a left, and then follow that all the way into Rice Lake. Or if you go in the other direction and go into Ladysmith, then it's XYZ to do this. On top of that, I always like to kind of think of the worst case scenarios. So just the situation that happened this year when I was up north turkey hunting on the family land, my truck made it all of 50 yards from the cabin before it literally clunked out. Well, it ended up being that there was some sort of malfunction with it. Well, I knew of a couple tow trucks in the area, and I actually had written down a few of their numbers. What I forgot to ask ahead of time is how much they charge for premiums on holidays or weekends. So needless to say, I still paid $400 to have my truck towed, even though we used my own equipment to pull the vehicle out of the field. So I was driving the Kawasaki Mule. The tow truck driver was driving my truck, and we were still pulling it with my own vehicle or my own equipment, and I still paid $400. But it's just planning for those worst case scenario situations. I think the biggest thing, like Justin brought up too, is just having some of that stuff with you in your kit. Other than that, I can't think of much that I try and do. I definitely need to be better at actually like bringing stuff with me in the woods. And that might even be for like with the kill kit, having some stuff to be able to kind of like do a quick wrap on a finger if you cut something, or just kind of having that, not even like the worst case scenario, but like making sure you're prepared for the best case scenario.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I like to over communicate, and if it's something that I'm leading the charge on, inviting people with, uh, if I'm a guest, I'll look at maps usually the day before or a couple of days before and just try to memorize terrain features. You know, um, you said earlier carrying a compass as a backup should your phone die and you don't have batteries and stuff along. That's a good one. The kill kit thing is super smart. Um, I'll carry an extra knife, not only just for gutting, but just if ropes need to be cut, whatever. I mean, multi-purpose tool can never go wrong when you're kind of in those situations. Dude, there's a story I gotta tell it yet at some point. I'll highlight it super quick, but we did one of our other friends convinced me to we bought a little john boat and we were going up this river after watching a public hunter episode where these guys were going to low pressured areas up rivers to shoot deer, and we're cruising along, we're going to go check out these predefined pins that we dropped, and we broke the shear pin on the prop on the back of the boat. We're miles away from anyone in the middle of this like swampy river, and thankfully we brought a fishing box and a rod just because we were going up to a lake too, which is so my cast as well. And thankfully this other individual is incredibly mechanically inclined and somehow figured out that the width of the latch on my Plano tackle box was the same size as the shear pin, and if it wouldn't be for a Leatherman and snapped it and kind of configured it, prop was back on and we were back off to the races. So like, it's kind of goofy. You carry it and you think 99% of the time it's just this heavy, thick weight in your pocket. But like in those situations, they really come in handy to do things like that. Heck, I'll even go as far to say carrying a firearm, like a handgun, especially if I'm bow hunting. Not that I'm overly worried about anything too much, but like, especially where I hunt. But over the last several years, there have been sightings of cougars coming through the area. I've never seen one, but like plenty of trail cameras and people that I know that are capturing them. They haven't caused any harm, but like you're out hunting by yourself. So they're all having the knife or the handgun on you. I know up where Martin's land is, well, then you run into wolves, bears, all that other stuff. You're more in their territory. And there's a lot of people up there that just go to the grocery store carrying those things just because you never know what you're going to run into. So, and even then, there's nothing wrong with self-defense. You never know who's going to be on land, or especially if you're in public, what you might run into. So I think that's probably on the more extreme end of when things go south. Back to what we talked about earlier too, the tarp idea, super genius for warmth or for waterproof. You never know what you're going to get caught in. Those are probably my core things that I would think of. Extra rope. Can never go wrong with having an extra rope to tie stuff down.
I hear that.
Right. So those are the clutch things, man. You can do a lot of things with just those basic elements.
So one of the things that you can't see it now, but right behind me on this wall, I actually took it down. I usually have about a 3 foot by 4 foot map of the management area that I hunt. It actually come from the management area. Like they have these maps set up, and about 3 or 4 years ago, about 2 years ago, whenever it was, the guys that, as I mentioned earlier, I got stuck out there, right? So I was hunting and literally almost in the next state over, and I shot a buck. And then when I I drug the buck 700 yards up the mountain in a jet sled. And at that point, I was like, all right, I'm done. And I went and got my car. I had a Subaru Forester at the time. And I went off in there, and I knew that the road gets rough, like really rough. So I got off in there and I wound up backing up. Well, when I backed up, my back wheels went off in a rut and my front wheels went off in a rut. And next thing I know, my car is like straight bottomed out. And so I had to walk for about literally 4 hours or more. It wound up being like 12 or 15 miles to get to the camp. And that's where I met these guys. Anyway, he knew a guy who worked for the management area, and they were replacing their signs, their management area signs, which are these big 3 foot by 4 foot, or really 4 foot by 4 foot maps. And he gave my buddy a couple of them, and he gave me one, and then they have one at the camp. So what we do is we'll take a safety pin. We'll be like, hey, I'm hunting right here, and we'll straight pin it. And I know a lot of people don't like, telling other people where their hunting spot is, their honey hole is. But, well, for one, my friends they're a little bit older, so they're probably not going to be getting out. I don't even want to go out to the places that I do half the time. So I'm definitely doubting they're going to want to be going out there. And if they do go out there, then I hope they kill the biggest deer they've ever seen in their life, because anybody who goes out to some of these places deserves to bring something home. And so I'm all about it. And that's one thing that we try to do to help prevent anything, or if anything happens, then, we know we kind of got an idea of where we're going to be, on every hunt. And if I'm not hanging out with those guys, then the one that I have hanging up back here, then I'll take, one reason why I took it down is because I have markers on it, but I'll have like a black piece of tape. I'll be like, okay, this is where I'll be. I'll tell my wife, like, just look for the black piece of tape. I'll be driving like up on the mountain, or, I'll be on the bottoms, I'll tell her, try to tell her where I'll be parked. And then every once in a while something comes up, maybe someone's in your spot that you want to hunt, so you kind of got to go on, and that kind of sucks because that throws, that'll throw it off a little bit, but I try to stay close to the area. So, man, really, you always try to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So it's, anything extra, like you said, rope, a saw, Band-Aids, gauze, a tourniquet, and something like that could actually be life-saving. And just really just being careful and not making dumb decisions.
I don't know if that was Martin I was talking to, like, in those moments, like the most seasoned hunters, this will still happen to. And it's like, whether it's you shoot something or you're lost, just train yourself to sit down and just take some breaths, right? Make decisions with a cool, calm, collected mind. No good decisions are ever made when you're in a panic, and you're just going to plow through a decision. Like, I don't care who you are, right? Like, get your bearings, slow down, take some deep breaths, and then start making a plan. Jumping into like some sort of conflict resolution when you're already hyped up, you're probably not going to make the right decision.
Yeah, that's 100% on that aspect, because there's been a few times where now I know the area so well that I don't even worried about I'm not even worried about getting lost, because I just know the area so well. But there's been times when I didn't know the area and I was learning the area that I got into spots, and man, you might things look the same sometimes, and you'll start freaking out, you'll start panicking. And the best thing to do is if you're going to panic, don't move. Like, just stay where you're at, and until, like you said, you can get yourself together. And that's the perfect example where you should have a compass, like Martin says. I don't ever bring one. I typically always try to have my phone, and I use like the Hunt Stand app or something like that, and it does a really good job, man. The apps have kind of been a game changer. I don't worry about getting lost, but there's been times where my phone's been close to dying or dead, and then you kind of got to go on memory. So,
absolutely.
And two, I'm a big believer in the better you know your area, the more your percentages will go up. So, like, the more I hunt this area, the better I know how the deer move, and then you can set up for that. So now I love going out to new places. That's one reason why I made the Chammock in itself, because I wanted to when I go to new places, I can bring that with me. If sometimes I don't even set up, I'll literally lean on a tree, and I'll try to find the best spot I can, and I'll lean there for an hour before dark, when it's prime time and they're more likely to be moving. But, yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Martin, I thought you would say you're going to sit down and scream as loud as you could at the moon.
Oh, that's only on Halloween. All right, we're on the last topic. Celebrate the success. Your go-to ways to honor and enjoy a successful hunt, from traditions and storytelling to sharing the experience with friends and family. Jared, you got the lead.
Um, when you're a kid growing up, like you're just happy to be with, whoever your mentor was, if that's dad or an older sibling, and you just want them to be proud of you. And yeah, the older I get, so I grew up gun hunting, then I've shared this on other episodes. I went to college, started businesses, kept moving away from family land, got out of hunting for a while, and then now I've had an opportunity to get back into it. So I consider myself double blessed for the first opportunity and then having people like Martin in my life to help get me back into hunting, because I think a lot of people don't even get the first chance. And the older I get and the more you get to kind of mature and appreciate things, I think it is those moments. We touched on this earlier too. It's like you do need your cheerleaders in your life. You need people to feel good about you. We were talking about this on another episode where if you only lived in social media and you're doing it by yourself and you wanted to just be proud of it, there's more people out there that are going to tear you down because you shot a small deer or this and that. And the reality is you put a lot of time and energy, and that's all you might have been able to come across with what you had. And you shouldn't be put down for that. If you were within the legal rights and limitations of what you were doing and that's what you worked hard for, there should be people cheering you on for that. And hopefully it's family and friends. It's not always for people, but I think for me it was that part, right? We talked about like my story of even breaking down deer as a kid, and getting to have a beer when you're underage. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, with your family, and you're just telling all these stories that we would never talk that way to each other when it was Christmas, but when it was deer hunting season, it was different, so like that's what I remember. There's been some things in my family that are even getting back to that after several years of not having it. So I'm super pumped about that because it gets to bring back out my inner child. And then the other parts of my life now are all these new business opportunities, the Geared Up North, Patchery Productions, Rugged Outdoors, my own business, like even working with you guys and getting, a sample of your product and trying to help share that. So there's the business side of it now where it feels good too, to kind of have these small little victories. The victory isn't in itself for me in harvesting an animal, like that's important, but getting out from behind the computer, getting away from the digital world, getting to try out new product, helping other people grow their businesses, I feel just as much of a victory as harvesting an animal. So if I can get out in the outdoor space and make some sort of an impact, that's where I get my feels. Harvesting your target buck is just icing on the cake. So not to get mushy, but that's my celebrating.
Justin, do you have any
Yeah,
favorite things?
man, I mean, my favorite thing is so last year when I shot my biggest buck to date, the only buck out of 10 years that I'm having mounted. Um, I went and I was out by myself, but I shot the deer, and it was about 4:30, and I gave him some time. I climbed down, and it was I actually moved up on top of a cliffside, so I was up like watching a flat. Like I jumped the deer several times. I've been on them hardcore, and I shot him. I know I hit him, but I got down there, and when you're like 80 to 100 foot higher than where you shot, nothing is the same. I got down there. I looked and looked, and I didn't necessarily see him drop, but I knew that I hit him. And I'm shooting a 45-70, so if I get a good hit, they can't go too far. Um, you'd think. And anyway, so I wound up calling my brother, like having my brother come up there and helping me. And I get up on this cliffside, and I'm like, well, maybe I can shine your light. It's at night at this point, it's nighttime. Like, maybe I can shine your light because I missed the buck and I hit a limb. And I was like, well, it made a noticeable spot on the limb. I was like, maybe I can see where I hit him. And I get up there, and it's like, as soon as I get up there and shine the light, my brother's like, hey, man, he's over here. So I like run down that mountain, dude. And I just couldn't believe the deer just was way better than I even thought. But that in itself is a celebration to me, like being able to find it with my brother, or like doing that, or better yet, being at camp with my buddy Donnie and Scooter. Shout out to them. I love being there, and I don't care if it's Donnie's wife Tony, if she kills a deer, if anybody kills a deer, dude, I'm so freaking excited. Like, I don't care what size it is. I don't care. If it's big, great, freaking awesome. If it's small, heck yeah, let's go. Um, because a lot of times you got to think, man, some people don't have the time to get out here and hunt big deer. Like, it takes time to get on very big deer. So, you know, uh, I would rather them have fun and shoot what makes them happy and then get to celebrate. And of course, man, celebrating with some good, like, Wild Turkey 101 or, like, just any kind of whiskey, man. That's always a good night for me. So, yeah, I just think, just being with the guys has made hunting so much more enjoyable because, used to just getting out there by yourself and, there's nothing wrong with doing it by yourself, but there's just less people to enjoy it with. So,
Mhm.
if you don't have people that you hang out with and have a deer camp with, then I suggest you try to find some and enjoy the experience with other people because it makes it that much better. Especially, like some people they're not very happy. Like if you kill a giant buck, they're kind of jealous or whatever. But man, I ain't like that. I'm just like, I'm super excited and it just pumps me up to want to get out there and try even harder, So, and,
Absolutely.
and sometimes you try so hard that you burn yourself out. And if that's the case, then just chill out for a minute, don't beat yourself up over it. Don't get to the point where you burn yourself out because you won't even want to do it. You won't take it serious. So,
Yep.
True.
Agreed.
Yep. Find
I
your
would kind
people.
of take it for me. If I'm able to see the animal go down, I'm going to sit by the animal or kneel or stand or something and do some form of grace or prayer or some sort of acknowledgement for having the opportunity to harvest that critter and to be able to put a lethal shot on them, that you were able to actually watch them tip and go down. To this, like, I won't even say this like a more or less you're celebrating their life because you are taking an animal's life to be able to fulfill yours in a further aspect. So if you're not able to appreciate that animal, to me, like, I mean, obviously there's people that don't, but for me, I like to be able to appreciate what that animal has given me as an opportunity. Outside of that, when I did drink old fashioned or some form of some good stiff cocktail or a whole lot of beer, but we don't do that anymore. So I think for me, it's more of if I'm not the one that, say for example, Jared comes up by me, or if Justin makes the trip up from down south and we all go to camp together, I think to me, I'm more excited for somebody else to shoot the deer than me. Now, don't get me wrong, like I like shooting deer, but to me, it's more of the camaraderie, the group aspect of like, we had somebody last year that shot at a deer and it wasn't lethal, but he went and tracked it right away. And I was pissed. I'm like, man, like, I understand you wanted to track it right away because where you hit it, but don't do that again. I want to go track with you. I would rather go walk a mile, 2 miles in the middle of nowhere. I just want to completely fuck off. Like, I want to get lost. I want to go find the deer. I want to be a part of the whole experience. I want it to be more than just that. On top of that, say for example, it's the three of us and we go, Jared shoots a deer. I'm going to grab like 3 or 4 of his favorite alcoholic beverages because as soon as we find that deer, and I'll bring some NA drinks for me, I'm going to make sure that we're having some form of a celebration in the woods. Obviously, we're going to celebrate more if we go to town and get dinner or even if we just stay back at camp. But making sure whoever harvested that animal has whatever they need for snacks, drinks, water, whatever, cigars, cigarettes, like whatever their go-to thing is, making sure that they have that with them to like make their experience that much better, if that makes any sense.
Celebrate the wins. Yeah, it's very rare that you find someone that needs to do it because that's how they survive, right? Like it's so easy to go to the store and get meat. So Maybe there's some families that 100% rely on it. So I think there's more of like the appreciation. There's a big part of hunting to me being like a history buff that's just keeping legacy and tradition alive. Everyone has their own little family traditions. We just rattle off a bunch. But the fact that everyone's family at one point had to do this to survive, and so many kids these days don't even know where their food comes from. Like,
Comes
and
from the store,
some
man.
has, yeah, right, yeah. It's like, and that bothers me. So I don't even have to love hunting as much as the next guy likes it, just for the simple fact that I don't want it to disappear, like, and pay homage to what our families all had to do to put food on the plate. Like, for that reason alone, I'll do it. So in addition to everything we've already all said, there's that aspect too. Whether it's paying respect to the animal you just harvested, building those core memories with friends and family, or you're sharing it with your community, or just keeping traditions alive. I think, to me, all those things fall under that macro umbrella of like the why you get the feelings that you do when you go do something like this.
Yeah, and to bring up, like Martin said about celebrating the animal itself, you always hear like, oh, this so and so killed a once in a lifetime buck, man, it's huge, Well, I'll tell you, every buck is a once in a lifetime buck. It only had one life and you took it, so you should be appreciative of that. I mean, it don't matter if it's a button head or, a 12 pointer. So a doe, it's hard to beat, having that food, and that's another part of the celebration. The process is actually processing the animal itself. Like I do my own processing, so I'm actually a little bit more picky on some of the deer I shoot just because I'm lazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, do I really want to pack this deer out of here? I don't know. Well,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
I do
just
know
a
what
lot
you
of
mean.
work. So it's part of it, and
I've never heard anyone say I've never been able to taste the difference between a 12 pointer and a spike.
I've the only times since I do my own deer, rarely do I ever have any taste difference. Now, maybe once in a while I'll have a deer that turns out, like every once in a blue moon I'll have a deer that's just a little more tough, and I don't know what it is about it. It's just a little more tough. And then every once in a while there'll be a little bit more of like a gamey flavor, but almost I'd say 95%, maybe even higher, of the deer that I eat. Like most of the time, people who don't like deer meat will try it and they're like, wow, that's so good. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't like, it's almost doesn't even taste like deer. It's almost like more like a roast or like a beef, like, because
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it has to do with how it's processed and how it's cooked. So that's
Agree.
a big part of it.
I agree.
Agreed. I think that's a great way to end it for any of the viewers that are still kind of listening along. We appreciate it. We're going on just over 2 hours here. Justin, what's the best way for anybody to reach out to you if they want to do any upgrades, changes, or even just purchase any of the current products you have for sale?
Yes, you can check us out at wildlineropes.com. You can contact me at justin@wildlineropes.com. Or really, to be honest, Facebook Messenger. You can hit me up on Facebook. That's a great way to get a hold of me. And to be honest, I'm terrible at getting back. Y'all probably know I'm terrible at getting back with people because Stephanie, my wife, she does a lot of that. So if you reach out, she might be the one talking to you. And then, if you need a phone call, we can talk on the phone and go over anything like that. And, I got a YouTube channel, Rumble channel. Definitely check out Rumble. I've got a bunch of stuff I need to add. I just see, unlike Jared, I hate the video aspect. It's like it's not my thing. So it's more of a have to do than a want to do. So, but I've got a bunch of stuff that just tips and tricks and uh, safety climbing techniques and all kinds of stuff that I need to be working on. So just keep that in mind. I'll probably be uploading some more videos here soon.
Nice. Well, this is the end of our Rutcation Station series. We wish you guys all the best in your Rutcation, and hopefully you're able to bag the big one. Even if it's not the big one, you should still celebrate it at the end. Martin here with Geared Up North.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Geared Up North. The adventure is far from over. If you're searching for more epic excursions, gear reviews, and insider insights, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Geared Up North. Visit gearedupnorth.com for more information, and don't forget our latest episodes are available wherever you get your podcasts.